going to talk about a subject that's at the top of everyone's minds, the inflation that's currently going on in our economy. Hopefully, throughout today's presentation, I'll be able to give you some tips and tricks that you might be able to employ to help protect your budget from the rising costs that are currently going on. So, the first thing I want to talk about is what is inflation? All right, so inflation happens, it goes through cycles, and it's any time that demand is high and supply is low. So when you've got a whole lot of people that want one product and there's not as much product as people that want it, the prices are going to go up. So there's been multiple issues that have kind of compounded to create the situation that we're in right now. I'm not an economist. I can't describe all of that, but here are some things that I understand that are going on. So, first thing is that we had a lot of supply chain disruptions during COVID. We had things that weren't able to get to stores as quickly for a while there. There wasn't as much demand because people weren't in the stores, therefore, manufacturing plants weren't producing as much. And now they're trying to catch up with the fact that they may have been closed due to COVID or to other plant shutdowns, and therefore they're trying to catch up on that supply. Perfect example is the baby formula shortage that just happened. The prices went through the roof because one plant had to shut down, and therefore we didn't have enough baby formula to meet the demand that the American public had. Another thing that's going on is the war on Ukraine because of the supplies that have been disrupted from that, the fact that the gas prices are going up from that. Gas prices therefore lead to higher trucking costs, which therefore lead to higher costs of the products that are on the shelves. The stimulus checks, the whole reason that the government did those was because our economy was going stagnant, because people were not buying things because of COVID. So the stimulus checks were meant to put money in people's pockets to encourage them to go out and buy things. But on the flip side, we now have more money and therefore more people are buying things, but not enough supply to meet with that demand. Right now, we're actually in a period of very low unemployment, which means more people have money in their pockets, therefore, they want to spend more. But once again, the supply hasn't kept up with that demand. And then there's also some theories out there about corporate greed. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a lot of things going into our current situation. It's not just one thing that we can point our finger at. All right, so how do you fight inflation? It's really only two things, and it's something we talk about at the Financial Empowerment Center with budgets all the time. You can either increase your income or you can decrease your expenses. There is no magic wand that's going to keep you from being in the middle of inflation. Everybody is going to be affected by it. And sadly, the people that make less money, it's going to have more of an impact on than those who make more money. So, from an increasing income standpoint, I talk to a lot of my clients about this every day. Often we stay with a job, we're comfortable there, we don't want to rock the boat. But if you look around, you may find out that you're not getting paid as much as you should or as much as you would get if you went somewhere else. Now, most of us would rather stay at the job we're at if we're happy there. So the first thing I would suggest is go in and ask for a raise. Don't just go in and say, hey, I need a raise, but actually present reasons why you should have a raise. What have you done that have made your position better, that has helped the company? This may or may not work. I've had clients that have gone in and they've come out with a raise, and that's awesome. And then I've had other clients that have gone in and the company said, we can't give any raises at all. So then your choice after that, if you're not able to get a raise at work, is to look for a new job in that same field of work. You may find out that you're making $15 an hour working at your current company, but the same position that you have at a different company may be $17 an hour. So you have to then make the choice if you're willing to make that jump and take that risk of if that company is going to be as good as the one that you're currently working with, or maybe you're not happy with your current job, and that's a great thing to do. But you can always look at another job. Or you can just completely change careers. We've got a lot of folks right now during this time, during COVID, that decided to completely shift their careers and go into totally different fields. And so look on the job site, see what's out there, see if there's something else that interests you that might pay more money. And then the other option is to find a second job. So you could find a second job with a traditional employer, working part time at a retail place or at a restaurant or something like that, something that will bring in a couple $100 extra a month. Or you might want to pursue gig work, which is very popular right now. So I want to take a little bit of time to talk about that gig work because so many people like it because they get to be their own boss. And they think that's the best part because they can determine when they're going to work, how often they're going to work, and they can just, if they don't feel like taking a job, they can simply say no. So it gives a lot of freedom when you have this gig work. So when I'm talking about gig work, I'm talking about things which are working for yourself. This could be, Instacart. This could be an Amazon driver. This could be Amazon can and cannot be, may or may not be gig work, but doing Uber, things like that. Now, the cons, the negatives to doing this gig work is that often you're using your own vehicle. And so, depending upon where and how much you're having to drive, that may be a lot of extra gas and maintenance that you're having to do to your vehicle. Especially with gas prices as high as they are right now, this could end up eating away at a lot of the profits you're making. And then another negative is that many of these jobs, you are going to actually be an independent contractor, which means you're not actually an employee, and the person that you're working for, the company you're working for, will not take out taxes on you, which means that you're going to be responsible for paying the full share of your taxes. Usually your employer pays part of them and you pay part of them. In the case of a contractor, you pay 100% of those taxes. And then finally, there's often no benefits. So if this is a part-time job and your full-time job already provides benefits, then that's okay. But there are some folks that are trying to do this as a full-time job, and that's just something you need to be aware of, that those benefits are something you're going to have to pay out of pocket for. Now, I've had several clients that have done gig work, and some are very successful at it, but some don't take into consideration all the costs that go along with it. So, this is an example that's very similar to one that one of my clients had of making $15 an hour for 5 hours. Doing this maybe on a Saturday as an extra thing. It sounds pretty good because you're getting paid $75 for working part of a day. That's great, put $75 in your pocket. But let's take into consideration the gas and the time that it takes to get there. So in this case, the job is 20 miles away and it takes 30 minutes for you to drive to get there. If your car averages 20 miles per gallon, that means that you're actually using 2 gallons of gas to get to the job and back again. So if your total pay was $75, your gas is going to be $9 that you're going to end up putting in your car. I have no idea how much the wear and tear to your car would be unless especially if you're doing this a lot, it's going to be more oil changes, more tires, more often you're going to have to replace your battery. But in addition to that, because you took 30 minutes to drive there and 30 minutes back, you actually have spent 6 hours of your time rather than 5. So when you take this and work it all out, rather than making $15 an hour, you're actually only making $11 an hour. Plus, you still have to pay all the taxes. So you might have to look and go, is that really worth my time to do this? Because once you pay all the taxes, you may only be making $9 an hour. It might be better to go get a traditional job that makes $12 an hour that you're guaranteed and that the employer is going to pay those taxes for you. So just something to keep in mind that gig work can be great, but take into account the other costs that go into it. So if you're not able to increase your income, or if you want to do a combination of increasing your income and decreasing your expenses, then there are two different routes that you kind of have to think about when it comes to decreasing expenses: your needs and your wants. So there are some things that you need. You can't get rid of them, such as a roof over your head, food, transportation, utilities, and clothing. So you need those things. But what can you do to change your habits that might decrease those costs? And then on the flip side, wants are things that you want. You don't need them. I want my Netflix account. I want my cell phone, but I don't need to have those things. So, what choices can I make about those wants that will end up decreasing my costs? So, let's talk about your car and gas, especially since gas prices are really high right now. Um, Thankfully, over the last week, coming down a little bit, but I would love to get back to $2 a gallon rather than $4+ a gallon. So, first thing is some choices that you can make here, or habits that you can do to change is, one, decrease your driving. Back when gas prices were low, my husband and I, when we had small kids, that was an entertainment value for us. We would put the kids in the car, they'd fall asleep, we'd drive around, and we would just drive. And that was just time away from the house. The kids were quiet. It was a good thing to do. But when gas is $4 a gallon, that's an expensive pastime. It's not a cheap pastime anymore. So if you can decrease that driving, if you know that you've got to go out to the grocery store and you've got to go out to Dollar General and you've got to go pay a bill, try to do all of them in the same day and make one trip of it rather than going out one day to the grocery store and going out another day to Dollar General, and going out another day to pay that bill, because each one of those times is more gas that you're using. Now, some other things that you might not have thought about is to check your tire pressure, do regular maintenance, and change your air filter. All of these things can have an impact on the miles per gallon that you get. So they may seem small, but if we're looking for small changes, then if you're running on tires that aren't filled up to premium tire pressure, it may be 5 to 10% more that you'll get in miles per gallon by having them pumped up to the correct pressure. Um, this is another crazy one of getting gas in the coolest part of the day, because from a volume standpoint, you'll get more gas for the same amount than you would when it's hot. And then this link that I provided here has some other interesting little tips that you might be able to take advantage of to be able to squeeze as much as possible out of that gas tank. All right, so groceries, I have a lot to say here. Um, so groceries can be an area, obviously, we all need to eat. We need to buy groceries, but we can also go overboard when we're buying groceries and pay way more than we need to. In addition to gas, right now, grocery prices are going up. We've got to choose what we buy. We may not be able to buy the same type of foods that we did a year ago. My husband loves ribeyes. I have not bought a ribeye in over a year because I refuse to pay $12+ a pound for a steak. So we're eating a lot cheaper meats than ribeyes right now. So, first thing, when you're going grocery shopping, make sure you have a list and a spending limit in mind. Grocery stores are set up for impulse buys. They have things at your eye level that they want you to impulse buy. They have things at kids' levels that they will see and therefore they will want you to buy for them. Pay attention to the cereal aisle. It is done very purposefully so that you will impulse buy their products. So if you don't have a list and you just go in for one thing, I can almost guarantee you'll come out with three or four. I talk to people all the time and they tell me, yeah, I just go in for one, but then I see other things that I need. Yeah, you might need them, but maybe you didn't. And I find for me, when I do that, I often come home and go, oh, I had another one of those in the cabinet. I forgot about it. So make sure you have that list. Stick to the list as much as possible. Also, reduce the number of trips. So, as I said before, don't go out 3 times a week to get groceries. If you've got that list, try to buy groceries for the whole week or 2 weeks or whatever you can spread it to so that you don't have as many trips out. You're not spending as much gas. Don't shop when you're hungry. Don't. You will spend more money when you're hungry because you will buy food that you don't have on your list because it'll look good and you're hungry right then. Take into consideration larger sizes are often cheaper, but thankfully, a lot of the grocery stores now are giving a per serving or per ounce breakdown. But I just keep my cell phone nearby and I'll sit there and I'll just figure out how much does it cost per ounce to figure out which one's cheaper because most of the time the bigger sizes are, but not always. Sometimes they are more expensive. I have coupons with a question mark here. Some people love coupons. Coupons can be great, um, but the problem is that coupons are typically for brand items. And as I show you later, name brand items are much more expensive than store brands. And so you may still end up paying more, even with a coupon for a name brand item than you would have if you just bought the store brand item. So if you really, really want the name brand, then coupons can be a good thing to do. Next thing, consider switching to those store brands and check sales ads before you go. Find out what's on sale. If chicken's on sale, then plan some menus that have to do with chicken. If ground beef's on sale, plan some menus around ground beef. That can save you a whole lot of money. And also, if possible, if you've got the extra income to be able to do it, try to buy, when things are on sale and it's a good sale, try to buy extra, stock up your freezer so that on those weeks when things aren't on sale, you can just simply eat the food out of your freezer. And then price checking things at different stores. Find out which store is generally the cheapest, the ones around you. I've got some things I'm going to show you in just a second. That sometimes some stores are always cheaper, and sometimes you've got some items that are cheaper at one and some items that are cheaper at another. And then big thing, don't buy it if you won't eat it. Especially when we get on a kick that I'm going to go on a diet and we go in and we buy a bunch of foods. Yes, I'm going to go on this diet. I'm going to eat well. And we bring it home and then we don't eat it and it gets thrown out. And that's just throwing money in the trash can. So if you don't think you're going to eat it, don't buy it. All right. So this was a couple weeks ago. This was from mid-June, but I got on my computer one day and decided to price check some of these stores just to kind of give you an idea. So I tried to pick items that are pretty common that most people would buy, and I've adjusted the prices based upon the size because Aldi might have a 3-pound bag of rice and Walmart might have only had a 2-pound bag of rice. And so I've adjusted it so it's all the same size across the board. And I've also looked at only store brand items, no name brand items. So I want you to notice here how these prices change. The ones in red are the cheapest across the board. I did Whole Foods just because my mother-in-law wanted me to do that, and she thought that would be interesting. And as you see, it's quite a bit more expensive. But generally, you'll notice that Aldi, Walmart, and Food Line are the cheapest in this list. Publix is going to be a lot, from the 27 to 47. You're paying $20 more to buy the exact same items at Publix. And then, oh my goodness, looking at Whole Foods, that's way out of my budget. Another thing to look at is that, especially when I'm talking about the ground beef or the chicken, when you're talking about a per pound, often you're buying more than 1 pound at a time. I'm only looking at 1 pound. So when you look at, for example, the ground beef at Aldi is $2.99, but at Publix it's $5.15. If you are going to buy 3 pounds of that ground beef, you would actually be paying $6. Am I right? $6 more at Publix because that's $2 a pound times 3. So that gets to be very expensive very quickly. Now, one thing that is interesting that I did find out, because when I was looking up these prices, I usually shop in the stores. It was a morning right after I'd shopped at Aldi, and then I went online and looked at their prices. And I was like, those weren't the prices that I just saw at the store. And I was purposely shopping. These are all stores in the Woodruff Road area is what I chose. I tried to pick them all in the same zip code. And it turns out that if you shop online at Aldi, they do increase their prices versus what's in the store. And on the reverse for Walmart, I noticed that some of the prices that were online at Walmart were cheaper than what's on the shelf at Walmart. So this is a good way to get a general price, but be aware that if you're someone who's busy and you tend to do Instacart or you tend to have them bring the groceries out to you, you may be paying a different price than what's actually on the shelf because they're trying to recoup some of their costs of having an employee pick up the food for you. All right, so my next thing, store brand versus name brand. Years ago, I did a taste test. I used to work with Cub Scouts, and I did a taste test between store brand items and name brand items. So it was blind. We put blindfolds on everybody and had everybody taste the two different things. And amazingly, most of the time when the boys and the parents had to choose which item they liked better, they chose the store brand, which may kind of amaze you if you tend to typically get the name brand of things. Now, I am not going to tell you that you have to buy store brand on everything. There are some things, depending upon your personal palate, you are going to be like, I don't like this store brand, and that is okay. If I brought home something other than Pepsi, my husband would be very upset at me. He does not like Coca-Cola. He does not like the store brand. So in our house, it has to be Pepsi. But you probably find on many items that you can't taste a significant difference between the store brand and the name brand. And in this, what I've done is I've told you what the name brand is that I picked versus the store brand. And all these are from Aldi. No, I'm sorry, not Aldi. They're from Walmart because Aldi doesn't carry as many name brand items. And so as you notice, this difference that I have, wow, the bread, 93 cents versus $3.16. You're paying over 200% more to have that name brand on that bread. So overall, the difference with just these items that I have is 72% more. You could save yourself almost $20 by buying the store brand versus the name brand of these items. A lot of stores, Aldi especially, they have a money back guarantee. If you buy their store brand and you don't like it, you can bring it back and get your money back. So my challenge to you is if you currently typically buy name brands, try a couple of those store brands. Find out if you really can taste a difference. Now, if you've got picky teenagers, here's a trick you can do also, because I've had a lot of people go, oh, my teenagers will not eat anything but the name brand. Okay, well, you know what? Keep your name brand box of cereal, buy the store brand, take the plastic out of the old one, put that plastic container, the actual cereal inside that old name brand cereal box and see if they can tell the difference. They probably won't be able to, and then you can switch over to store brand. Just an idea. Oh, the computer's lagging again. There we go. Okay. So let's get into utilities. Once again, we need to have air conditioning or heat in our house. Be really miserable in the South Carolina summers right now without any air conditioning. But there are ways that you may be able to adjust those utilities so they're not quite so high. So first thing is, look at your thermostat. During the summertime, if your thermostat set at 68, it's working overtime to keep your house cool. Can you adjust it up a couple of degrees? Adjust it up 2 degrees, see if you're still comfortable. Then adjust it up a little bit more, see if you're still comfortable. In the wintertime, how cool can you keep it so that you're still comfortable? I mean, you don't want to be in your house and be miserable, but many times you can save yourself, maybe $5, $10 on that power bill if you adjust that thermostat. When you leave a room, turn off the lights, turn off the fans. When you're not there, Why would you keep those things on taking electricity when you don't need them? If you've got extra rooms with a clock in it that nobody ever goes in, it's a guest room and you've got a clock, unplug it. There's no need to be using that electricity during that time. When it's hot out, when it's sunny out, and you're not there during the day, close the curtains, close the blinds, keep the heat out of the house as much as possible so that your HVAC unit isn't working harder than it needs to be. And if you're away from the house during the day, you might want to turn that air conditioning up so the house gets a little bit warmer during the day. And then when you get home, turn it back down again. One thing you may want to look into is programmable thermostats. They're going to allow you to set those time periods so that you don't have to physically go in and change your thermostat every time. They do cost, I don't know, $50 to $100. So there is some cost to them, but that is something you might want to look into if you have the means to do that. Otherwise, you can just go in and physically turn it up. Now, of course, you don't want to turn up your air conditioning so high that, especially if you have animals at the house or something like that, you just want to bump it up a couple degrees. So it's not miserable. It's still comfortable, but you can cool it off when you get back home. And then another thing is you don't want to have extreme variations. You don't want to have your unit set at 70 and then when you go away from the house set it at 85 and then turn it back to 70. That's not very good on your unit. It's really hard for your unit to keep up with that. All right, so now we're getting into away from the needs and into the choices that we make. So when it comes to the needs, those were things of changing those habits. How can I change a habit with the thermostat? How can I change a habit on how I go grocery shopping? When it comes down to the wants, it's what choices can I make? What things am I willing to do without? What things am I willing to do with less of? What things am I willing to do instead of? So first thing I would always recommend to anybody is track your expenses. Find out where your money is going right now. If you don't know where your money's going, you are not in control. And it's going to be really, really hard for you to make changes when you don't know where your money's going in the first place. So pull out your bank statement. Go through every single line, give every single bit of money a category. How many times did you go to the grocery store? How many times did you go out to eat? How many times did you go to the gas station, but actually go in and get a bottle of water? How many times did you go to Dollar General, etc.? That can be very telling and very helpful on making those decisions going forward. Next, online spending can be the bane of some folks' existence. It is so easy to look at something, say, I want it, click, I've got it. If you've got payments that are preset in any of these shopping sites like Amazon, I would definitely recommend disconnecting that automatic payment to make it a little bit harder, to make you think through things before you actually buy it. Now, another thing that's on the rise are buy now, pay later plans. This is a modern day, what I want to call it, layaway plan. So a lot of people get sucked into these because one, they present it to make it look less rather than going, oh, this item that I want is $100. Oh, I can have it for 4 easy payments of $25. Well, $25 doesn't sound like much. That's okay. I can afford that. But what happens, and I've seen it over and over again, is people buy things they don't have the money for, and before they know it, they've got 4, 5, or more of these buy here, buy now, pay later payments that are well beyond their budget. If you don't have the money, don't buy it. Just because you split the payments into 4 doesn't make it any better. Because I can tell you, there's so many folks that I ask them later, was it worth the expense? And they're like, I bought this stuff and I didn't even want it. Got to slow ourselves down and control those impulses. Now, most people are doing this nowadays is we're cutting off cable. Cable's expensive. You can get streaming services for a lot cheaper price. So definitely look into that if you still subscribe to cable, because you're probably paying 60 or more dollars for your cable, but you could turn around and get Netflix or Hulu or Disney for around $10 a month. But at the same time, be careful because it's easy to sign up for things and then actually not use it. So look at what subscriptions you have and discontinue the ones that you don't use. And what's great about the subscription services is typically you can sign up for them again with no penalty in the future. So if you're not using that subscription now, you can still sign up for it in the future again, but turn it off. Don't keep paying for it. And don't get caught in the trap of, oh, it just came out of my credit card yesterday. I'll wait till the end of this month and then I'll cancel it. You will forget. I can almost guarantee it. Go ahead and cancel it now so that you don't forget. And then finally, the big one that is so difficult, some people call it the new American pastime, is eating out. You go down the road and there is one restaurant after another restaurant going, you're thirsty, you're hungry. It's a dollar menu. Drop in, get this. You don't want to go home and fix dinner. The kids are complaining in the back. Come on in. You can get some food. All that, you're paying more to eat out than you are to buy groceries at the grocery store and fix those foods. So do your best to really curb that eating out and those impulse buys. Now, finally, um, as much as possible, and this is hard in this time period because costs are rising, is increase your savings as much as you can. So I really recommend that you set up automatic deposits to go into savings so that you never see that money. If when your paycheck hits, you automatically have $25 going over into savings, you never even see it. So it's not part of what you think you can spend. So you want to get that money over there as much as possible. We don't know what this is going to turn into if we are going to go from inflation into recession. And if we get into that recession, then we've got people losing jobs, we've got lack of money, and therefore prices could still be high, but we don't have the money to pay for those things anymore. So we want to go ahead and, as much as we can now, is prepare for what might happen. We want to get that savings into the bank so that if something bad happens, you've got that to fall back on. And the great thing is if something bad doesn't happen, if we are able to avoid a recession, that savings is still there for you. You can use it for a vacation. You can use it for something fun that you want to later. But make sure you've got that savings in there. Try your best, to get $100 in first, 500, $1,000. The goal would be 3 to 6 months of your regular expenses. Because if you lost a job, for most people, losing one paycheck really throws a monkey wrench into their budget. Most people can't handle being without a paycheck, one, much less 3 or 6 months of them. So if you can get that into savings, that's going to give you that peace of mind that it's there. Now, these next options are if you're in the position to take advantage of it. Not everybody is going to be. The Kasasa accounts, a lot of or several of the credit unions that are here in town offer these accounts, and they may be a good option for you to actually get paid back for cash that you're already using. So these accounts usually offer two different things. Either you can get an account that offers a higher interest rate, up to like 1.9% that they're paying you in a checking account, or that they'll pay you cash back for the times that you swipe your debit card. So there are several different things that you have to do in order to get the cash back. But typically the accounts are free. There are no fees that go along with it. If you don't jump through the hoops to get the cash back, you just simply have the account and you don't get the cash back. But that is something that, can help you pay yourself a little bit of that money. And then from a credit card standpoint, if you've got a good credit score and if you have your spending under control, and you never carry a balance on a credit card. I cannot emphasize that enough. Never carry a balance on a credit card. Then you might want to take advantage of some of the credit cards that offer cash back. There are plenty out there that offer 1%, 2%, sometimes up to 5% cash back on your purchases. But the warning here is that you can never use these cards as an emergency fund. These companies know human psychology. They know that even though they're giving you 2% cash back, most Americans will get themselves in a pickle. They will not pay off that balance. And guess what you're giving them? Usually somewhere between 22 to 29% interest. That 2% that they're giving you is a drop in the bucket. So you've got to beat them at their own game. Can't ever carry a balance, and then you're getting paid for spending money that you normally would. So in my situation, I've switched to all of my groceries, all of my gas, everything I would normally spend goes on my credit card, so I get that cash back, but I pay it off every month. So if you don't feel like you can do that, then do not get yourself one of these credit cards, because I don't want you to get caught in that trap, because credit card debt is miserable. Been there, done that. Don't ever want to do it again. All right, so the Financial Empowerment Center is a part of the Human Relations Commission, and we do cover several different areas. So if you need help with finances, then the FEC, the Financial Empowerment Center, is the place to come to. But the Human Relations Commission can also help if you're facing foreclosure, if you're having issues with your landlord, if you think that you've been discriminated against when it comes to housing. We have a home buyer education course. So if you are interested in getting down payment assistance, you're going to be a first-time home buyer, then that's a great course to take for that. And then we also help people that are currently homeless to try to get them back into safe and affordable housing. So to tell you a little bit more about the FEC, we are a grant-funded program, and we do offer one-on-one financial counseling that is free. And what's really awesome is that it's not just free one time, it's free for as long as you need it. So we have some folks that come in and they just meet with us once, they get the information they need, and they're ready to move on. We have other people that come in and say, you know what? I really could use somebody to be in my corner, somebody to bounce ideas off of, somebody who can be my cheerleader, or that voice on my shoulder that says, don't buy that. We can do that for you. The counseling is completely based upon your needs. It is not one size fits all. And so we work on building savings, paying down debt, building credit, and making sure that you have safe and affordable banking options. So if what I've said here today resonates with you, if you're like, you know what, I would really love to have some more help, have someone to help me with looking at my finances and coming up with a spending plan or a budget that will work for me and will help hold me accountable to that, or if I need some help with building my credit score because I really want to buy a house and I need to figure out what to do in order to best build that, give us a call. We would love to help you. So you can call the number on the screen, the 467-7503, or you can just go online to greenvillefec.com. You'll know the website because it will have this at the top of it, and you can book an appointment right there. So we have counselors right now. We are meeting in person, over the phone, or by Zoom, whatever works for your schedule. And we have several different locations that we can meet if you would like to meet in person, and that's all listed on the website. So we hope to hear from you soon, and I hope that you have learned a little bit about inflation today and that you feel a little bit more confident on some things that you might be able to squeeze some pennies out of your budget and ride this storm as much as possible. Hope you have a great day.